Hello and welcome to another episode of Graco Garage. In today's episode, I'll be showing you how to connect your heated hose from your InvisiPac system up to your glue applicators. For this, we'll be showing you how to connect the hose to the back of the melter manifold, as well as the electrical into the back of the InvisiPac system. And then we'll be showing you how to mount that hose up to the applicators, connect the electrical to the applicators, and then we'll be showing you some of the best practices to ensure that your hose has a nice long lifespan. Today's tools will be a 9/16 wrench, an 11/16 wrench. It's also nice to have an adjustable wrench on hand just in case. We'll also be using the Graco hose straps to hold those hoses out of the way without compressing the insulation. I've also got 2 sets of gloves laid out here. Also, depending on your site restrictions, it's never a bad idea to have a good set of heat-resistant sleeves on hand. Make sure if you are wearing sleeves, it's going to be something that does not melt and does not burn. All right, now to drain any residual oil left over from testing, we want to get some sort of a container just in case, and then some paper towel to absorb that oil. And then we'll break this fitting loose and remove that JIC cap. And I'm not getting any oil out, so I'm going to call that good to go. We're going to bring our hose in, and we're going to want the end of the hose with the larger plug and more pins. That's what's actually going to plug into the back of the melter and plug into the heat zone. So we want this end of the hose with that large plug to attach to the back of the melter. Now, depending on the space configurations, you've got a 45-degree fitting and a 90-degree fitting. In this case, I want the hoses just to kind of move off in that direction over towards the guns. So I'm going to pick the 45-degree fitting, and I'm going to go ahead and install that. Now for my second fitting, I could either choose this fitting with a 90-degree, or I could choose this fitting and just connect straight. It'll give us fewer potential leak paths with a straight fitting and not having to go through an adapter. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that port. I'm going to break that loose, set that over there. So now we've got our 2 hose attachment points. Now the next step is going to be to remove the red dust cover from the end of the hose. We'll then line up the hose with the fitting and thread that on by hand. And then we can start tightening down some of these fittings. When you're tightening down the hoses, it's important to note you want to use 2 wrenches so that you don't twist the hose. Twisting the hose can cause damage to the core and on the heat traces running through the hose. Now we'll get our second hose, find the large plug end, line it up, and begin threading it on by hand just to ensure that you don't cross thread anything. Now, with both hoses attached, take the electrical, plug it into the heat zone, and tighten it down. Flip the cap up out of the way, and proceed with heat zone number 2. All right, now we've got both hoses connected to the melter, as well as both electrical plugs into the associated heat zones. Next, we'll be moving on to the guns and mounting the hoses to the guns. So these guns came pre-installed with 45-degree fittings. The guns also come with 90-degree and straight fittings included in the packaging. In this particular case, I want the hose to come off and kind of hang nicely off the back of the gun. So I'm going to go ahead and install the 90-degree fitting. It is important to note that these compression fittings have an O-ring groove, and we want to keep that O-ring situated nicely in the groove so it seals well. So the first thing we always do is back off the jam nut, then install the fitting by hand. This will ensure that our O-ring is kept nicely inside of the O-ring groove, providing a good seal for our compression fitting. Perfect. Again, line it up with the fitting and tighten those connections down by hand. Take the cord set from the gun and the cord set from the hose. We'll plug those together. Twist until they snap. Then, using a Graco hose strap, we're going to strap that cord set down along the hose. Now continuing with the second hose, we're going to remove that dust cap. Take the cord set from the gun and the cord set from the hose. Plug those together, twist until they snap. Taking your 2 wrenches, we want to tighten these fittings down to 300 inch-pounds or 25 foot-pounds. Now that those are nice and tight, they're tightened into the guns, these hoses have been installed and they're ready for service. All right guys, great job today. We've got the hoses installed on the melter and on the guns. We've got all the wiring hooked up and we're good to go. So at this point, I'd like to draw your attention to the tags that come attached to the heated hoses. These tags are going to outline some of the best practices to keep your heated hoses operating trouble-free for a nice long time. We also have a tag outlining some of the warnings and risks associated with using heated hot melt hoses. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining me on another episode of Graco Garage, and we'll see you next time.